Hello again. Today we're going to talk about milestones and the importance of milestones and meeting them on time and appropriately. So what I like to do in following an infant, especially in the first year, with those milestones is as the child reaches their different milestones, it's also telling me neurodevelopmentally that those primitive reflexes we talked about that should be there at the beginning of life are becoming integrated, and the more postural or adult reflexes are taking over. Why is this important? Because if this doesn't happen, and if it doesn't happen correctly, it's one of the first indications or indicators that there may be, or there's a possibility of a neurodevelopmental delay. So we want to make sure that your infant meets all of their milestones and meets them correctly. So what does that mean? The first milestone that we have, the baby's basically born, they're lying on their back, they can't roll over. So the first thing that we're going to see is that they begin to find their arms and legs or their hands and feet, and they realize that they have control over them. Then they begin to roll. So generally, an infant will begin to roll first from back to tummy, and then tummy to back comes next. From there, tummy time is so important because they need to get up onto all fours and they'll start to rock back and forth. In the stage of crawling, you may see that they keep their bellies on the floor and do some form of what we call army crawling with their arms and legs. And they may do this with both arms moving at the same time and both legs moving at the same time instead of using cross crawl. Then they eventually develop into the cross crawl mode and they'll come up onto all fours and start crawling normally. But what are some variants of that normal crawling stage? We see something that we call the crab crawl, where when an infant is crawling and they go from crawling to sitting, they'll put one leg out so that they can then prop themselves up to sit. When they're sitting, that's fine, but they should not crawl with one leg or the other on the floor, flat on the floor like a crab. The other alteration or difference in crawling that we see is the bear crawl. That means that the child's crawling on both hands and feet with their bum up in the air. These are not correct, and when they occur or when the child's doing that, you need to bring them in right away because we can show you things that you can do at home and adjust them to get their nervous system functioning properly. Usually within a few weeks, if you come in right away, we can get them crawling properly. Why is that important? The cross crawl is essential for coordinating brain development from the left to the right hemisphere and back and forth. And that happens through something in the center of the brain called the corpus callosum. So if we're ipsilaterally crawling, let's say, or using or using their arms together and their legs together, it tells me that they're stuck and they have retained primitive reflexes that haven't inhibited yet. So it's not allowing them to make it to the next stage. And when they eventually get up to standing and walking, that will be a problem because we might have ipsilateral walking where they can't cross crawl, and then we're going to have trouble later on if that occurs with eye-hand coordination. So we're going to have messy handwriting, not being able to cross the midline, so we'll have trouble with reading, etc. So important to get those milestones working properly. We need to make sure that it happens correctly, and if we do right from the start, then we can most likely prevent a developmental delay that would occur later on. If you have any further questions, feel free to ask me when you're on your next visit. Have a great day.